Hi, Steve Stine here, and I'm going to show you some really cool things that you can do with the simple string skipping pattern that looks like this. Okay, so let me break down what I'm doing here, and I'll show you all kinds of really cool stuff that you can do with this. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a chord on the 6th string. I'm going to find a major chord. Doesn't matter where I go. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm finding a major chord on the 5th fret of the 6th string, so I'm playing an A major chord. Okay, so what I'm going to do on this is I know that the 6th string 5th fret right here is A. The octave of that note is on the 7th fret of the 4th string. That note is also A. That's going to be my target note when I'm looking at trying to do something like this. So what I'm going to do is when I'm going to play this A chord, I visualize the 7th fret of the 4th string, which is my A, okay? And that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with my middle finger on that note, which is the octave or the root. Okay? So if I'm in A, I look to the 7th fret of the 4th string there and put my middle finger out there. So that note is the root. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first finger and I'm going to go to the 6th fret of the 3rd string. Now the goal here is I'm trying to keep everything as separate as possible. So as I'm playing, I don't want them to ring out over the top of each other. I want to move the pressure from one string to the next. Okay, so what I'm doing then is I'm going to go to the pinky on the 9th fret of the 3rd string as well. So I'm going 4th string, 7th fret, 3rd string, 6th fret with my first finger, and then pinky on the 3rd string, 9th fret. Now those three notes that I'm playing right there are the chord. It's the root, 3rd, and 5th of a major chord, A major chord. Okay, so I could stop there and make some really cool stuff with that, but I'm going to keep going here. So the first thing I want you to get comfortable with is trying to move from the 7th fret to the 6th fret, and then to the 9th fret of that same string, the 3rd string, and keeping all the strings separate. Now, if you've heard me, seen any other stuff that I've done before, you know I talk a lot about learning how to deaden out everything that you don't want. So in this case, I'm deadening out all the strings above here with my right hand, and everything below here with my left hand, namely my index finger. So as I'm playing, everything else is staying out of the way. I'm not hearing any other tones or any other pitches or any other frequencies at all. Nothing's vibrating other than the note that I'm pressing on. So as I move from the 4th string to the 3rd string, I deaden out the 4th string. When I get there, I start deadening out the 4th string with the tip of my index finger. I lightly touch that 4th string from underneath. And the reason I spend so much time talking about these sorts of things is more than not, the reason people don't get these kind of licks to become really effective is because they're just not clean enough. It's not that they don't understand what to do, it's just that they can't really execute them effectively. So what I want you to do is get those three notes to be nice and clean by always focusing on that nothing else is vibrating. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to skip over the 2nd string. We're going to head to the 1st string. We're going to go to the 5th fret of the 1st string with our first finger. And then I'm going to go to the 9th fret with my pinky on the 1st string as well. So I have... Now the first question is, as I get this more comfortable, how do I pick it? Well, it kind of depends on what you're going to do with it. I'm going to show you how to do a series of hammer-ons and pull-offs to make it sound a lot faster. But initially, to start doing this, what I would do is ideally I would start with an upstroke. Now, when I first start playing it, I probably wouldn't start with an upstroke, but as I get into the sequence, that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, so I would play a down, down, and then an up. So I'm pushing down, down, and then up, and then down, up, okay, and then down, up, and then I could start back with a down again. Okay, so I'm going, and it all depends on kind of how you want to approach this. So I'm going down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's how I'm doing it. So I'm doing the first two as a down, and then an up, down, and then I wind up with an upstroke when I get back to the bottom. Now again, the ideal thing that I'm looking for here isn't really the picking pattern that I'm doing initially, because I'm going to change it into hammer-ons and pull-offs, but that's how I would do it. So the whole thing ideally just becomes a series of alternate picking. Okay. Now you could certainly go down, up, 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 down, up. And that would be just fine too. But watch this. Here's what we want to do. We want to use this as a hammer-on. We're going to go from 6 to 9 as a hammer-on. So I'm pressing through as a down, 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 and then doing my hammer-on. So again, I'm pushing through, down, down, and then doing my hammer. Now I'm going to go to the first string, 5th fret, and I'm going to pluck that note, and I'm going to hammer to the 9. Okay, so it takes a little while to get used to the stretch. Notice how my wrist is downward, so it's easy for me to reach. And again, please always remember, my hands are relatively small, so if I can reach that and you have bigger hands, it should be easier as long as you're not coming from this angle. As long as you're lower down, you've got more space. Now let's go ahead and do a pull-off from the 9 back to the 5. And then we're going to go back to the 3rd string on the 9th fret with our pinky. We're going to pick that note and pull off to the 6. And we're going to start all over again. So I have... Okay, so here's what's actually happening. I mean, it sounds pretty cool, and it's pretty effective, but it's also fairly easy if I can do my hammer-ons and pull-offs. So I'm pushing through twice, down, down. That's going to be part of the big part of getting this fast, is pushing through. As long as I don't have to go down, up, and alternate pick, it's going to make it a lot easier for me. You know, if you think about it, like if you played a chord like C, and you strum all the way through, it's pretty quick. If you try to go down, up, down, up, down, up, all the way through, it wouldn't be very fast. So what I'm doing is I'm essentially just sweeping through those first 2 notes. I'm pushing through, and then I'm doing my hammer-on. So the first thing I got to do is just establish that. Deaden out everything, get those 3 with that hammer-on. So I'm pushing down, 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 and then a hammer-on. Then I'm going to head up to the 1st string, do a hammer-on pull-off. So notice how my pick is still traveling downward. I do down, down, hammer on, but see how my pick keeps going? So it's ready on this 1st string. And then I'm going to come back up. Now logically I should do this 9 on the 3rd string with an upstroke because I'm coming back this direction. But because I've got a pull-off right afterwards, it doesn't really make any difference. It's whatever's comfortable for you. Because you do have a spot where you're not playing because of that pull-off. Right there. So if you want to do it as an upstrum, that'd be okay. If you want to do it as a downstrum, I prefer a downstrum. It just feels more comfortable to me. Sounds pretty cool, okay? And again, you're not going to use this all the time, but it makes for a really effective little lick when all of a sudden you're on an A. You just throw something like that in, people go, holy cows, what was that? Okay, so you've got... So that's the first thing for us to develop. Okay? Now, let's take that exact same idea, but what we're going to do now is we're going to make the chord minor. And I guess before I even go on to that, let's make sure you understand how we're going to move. So if I'm on G, for instance, so I go to a G bar chord. So my chord, whatever's happening, is G. So now what I do is I go to, again, the roots. I find the octave, right? So if G is at the 3rd fret, my octave is at the 5th fret of the 4th string. I put my middle finger on there. I got that same lick. So no matter where I'm going, right? So if I play a B, up to this E because it's easier to see it up here. See? So I could follow chords all over the place. Guys like Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple. Yeah, I mean, there's just a host of different people. Randy Rhoads. There's lots of different artists that would do lots of things like this. So it's very effective and it's very fun. And again, it's a nice little difference from just playing the normal scale all the time. Because now you're just following chords around. You find that chord that you're looking for and you can execute this lick.